Okay, folks, good evening. Thank you for being here. We may have a few more pop in as we go along. Uh, Welcome to the 2025 season. Um, I know we got a couple national candidates sitting with us tonight, so that's exciting. We had a national referee course over in Oxnard a few weeks back. I guess it's getting close to a month ago now. Um, and there was a good turnout. So Gary was there. So thank you, Gary. That's a long weekend. And I just got to take a nap in the back, but you had to keep your brain turned on the whole time. Uh, so we do a theme for Team 3 every year, right? At first it was okay, we just mentor and this and that and this and that. And I thought, you know what? Let's give it some focus because if you look, you can actually see a trend on the field and try to have a focus throughout the duration of the season that benefits most of our referees. And so if you stick with Team 3, you're going to get through a number of themes and really benefit from a broad spectrum of I, I want to say knowledge, but this isn't so much about imparting and bestowing. We're more picking your brains here. We're asking you the questions to help you formulate the approach for how to think about these things. So that's why it's called a focused discussion. I will not sit here and lecture. Uh, so, with that being said, the theme for this year is latent. There we go. Rising to the occasion. So I've picked rising to the occasion. Last year was building a winning referee team. Building a winning referee team was all centered around the Canaston Cup. I was excited to see it back. We had a number of referees participate, and so we wanted to focus on building referee teams to compete in the Canaston Cup. Who all here participated in that last year, either as an evaluator or a referee?
I did.
All right, Cindy. Yeah, and I got to be an evaluator. Cindy and I were participants a while back before the cup took its hiatus, and it's going again this year. So they're trying to keep it a recurring thing. So that's there. But I think the real focus here, rising to the occasion, is we have the national games coming back to Southern California this year. A couple years ago, uh, Cindy spearheaded an effort to get us on a lot of games there. And the the boys 18 championship was actually an all Team 3 crew. So that was pretty cool to see it. So I'd like to see us put even more work into that. Um, I think the main struggle we saw there, well, Cindy, what do you think the main struggle was at the national games last year or 2 years ago?
115 degrees.
Yep. Uh, who here went to that tournament? Chris did. Yeah, Cindy was there. Yeah, it was hot, and not only that, Randy, were
Where?
you there?
No. Where was it?
It was in Irvine, where it will be again.
That's pretty hot for Irvine. Jeez.
Yeah, and that's very close to me. It was an exceptionally challenging weekend, uh, environmentally speaking. The air quality was quite rubbish. So it was like humidity, but with just garbage in the air, and it was hot. Uh, that was quite a trying weekend. There were a lot of red faces, right? Um, Maybe even some burnt feet from refereeing on uh, turf. It's a fantastic venue. Uh, it's a really impressive park. Um, so that's where we're set to be again. this year. And I want to focus on us rising to the occasion, but rising to the occasion in each game. So I want to ask you all who are here. I told you I'm not going to lecture for long. This is a focused discussion. What does rising to the occasion mean to you all in the context of refereeing in a way? So,
Being able to perform your best in a challenging situation, challenging game.
okay, yeah. Sometimes those come out of the blue. Sometimes you know it's going to be challenging. Thank you, Garth. Chris, I saw you come off mute.
Yes, I was going to say something similar to what Garth, uh, rising to occasion to address those things that you weren't expecting,
Okay. Yeah.
the unforeseen.
Mm-hmm. Being adaptable. I like it. I like it. Let's look at it from another angle. What's a situation, and we don't have to point fingers, whether it's ourselves or someone else. What's a situation where we noticed a referee failed to rise to the occasion?
They bit off more than they could chew. They took maybe they were too tired, or it was a game beyond their current abilities.
Yeah, so maybe 5 games in a day at the national games in 115-degree heat, and you haven't put on sunblock all day.
Also, addressing, well, it has to do also with the heat and the tiredness, but addressing those, well, I already said something about unforeseen, but I'm thinking back to when I ran into the situation with a coach at the national games on 14U boys. And I initially tried just to address it with talking to the coach, but it just didn't work out that way. And I should have been a little bit more aggressive in my addressing the coach to start with.
Okay, it needed a firmer hand early on. I like that. Missed opportunities can really make the situation a lot more difficult to rein back in.
I would say it's easier to remember the failures than it is the successes to rising to the occasions. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's a learning curve and helps us learn, next time theoretically, what to do. But I definitely have failed on numerous occasions when it comes to sideline control,
Hmm.
whether it be the teammates or most likely the coaches or the spectators.
Yes, yes, that can be very challenging.
I think
What?
for
Go ahead,
me, I
Dan.
think it's thank you for having me, by the way. I
Yeah.
think it's, a situation is, when a game gets out of hand physically, or I'm thinking back to a game I watched my son play that was a freshman game this year. And early on, there were opportunities to get the game under control. And they weren't taken. And by the end of the game, there were, several red cards given out. There were a lot of F bombs that were given out by players towards, referees and other players. And it just really wasn't handled well. And it wound up just being a really miserable experience for everybody involved. It was miserable for the referees, it was miserable for the players, it was miserable for the coaches, the fans. Nobody had a good time. And so,
Yeah.
not that that's all within a referee's control, but I have also seen situations that have been handled beautifully, and a lot of games could have gone sideways that way. And other referees just made it look easy, and just, let those games play to their completion. Somebody's happy, somebody's not happy at the end of most games. And, but everybody went home and it was just a regular soccer match. So I think if you're not thinking about what could I have done differently, then you've probably succeeded.
Yeah, yeah. If there's nothing that leaves you pondering, what happened. But I'm glad the pondering happens. Gary talked about messing up. A number of you have heard me say, the way I learned refereeing is I would go and mess stuff up big time. Uh, and then I would go back, and we didn't have the app back then. We had the book. Well, back then I still learn. I just don't mess up as big as often anymore. Um, but I would go back and I would read. So, okay, all right, I had a lot of knowledge error there. Well, I messed it up big time. And that's making a marker for me mentally. And right away, I'm putting in the right knowledge. And okay, next time it comes up, I'll have taken the steps to make sure I'm sharp on that. Yeah. Um, what duties do we have out there to meet? We're rising to the occasion. What's expected of us as referees and ARs? I just use that term globally.
To let everyone enjoy the experience, a positive experience for everyone.
Okay. You're thinking a bit of that safe, fair, fun.
Yep. Fun, fair, safe. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. What's another duty we have?
Well, just to what you said, we have a duty to know the laws of the game.
Good point. Good point.
A duty to the players themselves to make the calls that the game requires.
Yes. Yes.
A duty to be focused for all 90 whatever plus minutes on what's going on in the game and around us.
Yeah. And if it's your sixth game of the day, you're superhuman if you can keep focused. um, that can be a very tricky situation. Yeah. Somebody asked me coming off the section championships in Bakersfield what trend I saw, and I was thinking there were a number of very difficult situations that were key to the games that I saw referees hadn't yet learned to handle. The upside of that is we're bringing in fresh referees. We're not stale, and so they're learning, and that's a great environment to learn. Whether it was hard challenges, careless, bordering on reckless, or touchline behavior, uh, some things that needed some management. Um, what are some particular challenges that come our way that make it difficult to rise to the occasion? Does anyone know their personal weaknesses here and want to out themselves?
Super aggressive coaches.
Okay.
Continually calling out complaints would probably be one of my weaknesses that I'm working on.
All right. Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
tough one.
I keep going back to the touchline control, and my knee-jerk reaction to that is needs to be tempered, definitely.
If they get angry, we get to give them multiple opportunities of forgiveness. Uh, Not always, but we have the ask, tell, remove escalation. If we get angry, there is no forgiveness for that. Chris, it looked like you had something.
As a challenge, I would say fitness, running out of energy as you're trying to be close to play.
Yeah, that is very true.
I think for me, it's getting better at blocking out things that are being said. and letting some of those things, just go, and being able to just, focus on the game, and then knowing when. Fortunately, I have not had situations like this myself to deal with, but watching others do it, just kind of knowing when to stop the game, when to have those conversations, and how to talk to somebody and diffuse a situation rather than have it escalate.
Yes, yes, because we don't want to shut down everything. We're not being authoritarian, so it can be hard to tell, all right, what's over the line here? What do I need to manage? And what can I actually manage better by just allowing it? I think back to one challenge. I've only had it once, and it was probably over 10 years ago, but it was tough, and I haven't totally figured it out yet. But one that really, coach really had my number. My style, I definitely talk with the players a lot. I think it's better if I can tell them something ahead of time, and then they have the choice to change the behavior or not. And then, between fouls and cards, I can talk them down. Well, every time I talk to a kid, this coach would just shout loudly from across the field. It was like he was in my ear, even if I was on the opposite line. Um, don't talk to the ref. Don't talk to the ref. Just walk away. And, on the surface, that's a perfectly reasonable request and often a good instruction from the coach. But as the game went on, and it was every time I tried to talk with the player, it's like, okay, this coach knows what's going on. And I even said, hey, coach, it's okay. I'm talking to them. I'm approaching them. And yeah, he had my number, and he wasn't doing anything where I could walk over and say, hey, you got to knock it off, because it was good advice. So this was a sly coach, and I still haven't totally figured out how I'd like to deal with that better. I didn't have the flexibility to manage the game in any other way, so he was taking away my biggest tool. Um, so speaking of our tools, the referees and the ARs have some responses they can give uh, to the things that happen during the game. What are some of those responses? We can start small and go all the way big.
I'm starting off small by "I got it, coach." Uh, you know, pretty mellow comments like that until it gets worse.
Yeah, okay. Throw them at me. They're going to keep popping up.
With respect to the team, looking as a way of communicating with your ARs or the center. I'm
Okay.
sorry, or the referee. There is no center referee. Uh, um, and having a method where, if necessary, you can go over and have a more in-depth talk with your AR.
Yes. Yeah, you can have a talk with AR. And so we see here a range of responses we can have, from no reaction all the way to a send off. I didn't put lose your cool anywhere on there, but that's an option too. Maybe not a great one. Uh, but we've got this whole toolbox, right? You've got cards, you've got the look, you've got quiet talk, public word, advantage, whistle, caution, send off, and so many things in between there. We get all these tools, but was it Gary who mentioned knowing when to call in? I think Dan also mentioned knowing when to allow something and when you actually have to speak up and handle it. Uh, we've all heard of flow and control, right? It's this balance, and if you have too much of one and not enough of the other, the balance starts tilting, um, and you're going to get into trouble. So how do we level things out with the flow and control? How do we know which tools to pull out of our toolbox at a given time? Any ideas?
I would think most of that would be with experience. You learn it.
So good luck,
Agree.
new guys.
Agree. Agree.
So those of you with plenty of experience, I know we have a range of experiences here. Um, those of you with plenty of experience, what are some of the things you've picked up in that experience?
Judging the reaction of the players to how the game's going to give you feedback on where you are with the flow control.
Somebody else mentioned it, knowing when to let something said go in one ear and out the other, just what you should ignore, what you can ignore, and when it's time not to ignore.
Mm-hmm. I think you got right to the heart of it pretty quickly. You've got to have your feelers out there. If you go into a game with a fixed approach, right? This is who I am, this is how I call the game. That's going to work on some games. On some other games, you're just going to step right into a pile of trouble. And if you can be flexible and as you go along, you can say, okay, I called that foul. I thought about it. And, it was borderline, but I decided to call it there. What reaction did I get to it? How'd the players like it? Is the coach saying, hey, give us advantage? And I don't have to give advantage, but I can think, why? Why is she saying give advantage? Um, why? Why would I stop it and give the free kick instead of advantage here? Huh? Huh? Okay, and then you can adjust from there. So there's a balance between a thick skin and playing deaf. Thick skin, you can hear everything and evaluate, and that one's useless. They don't know what they're talking about. Or, uh, what's one of the times you hear feedback from the players or from the line, and you think, oh, yeah, okay, I'll look for that.
Sometimes there'll be somebody got a scratch, or they have, something that maybe happened and it was out of the field of vision, and I didn't see it. And somebody will point out, like, hey, keep a watch on this. And or she took an elbow, or she's got a scratch here, something happened. And I can't go back and fix it, but I can certainly keep my eyes open to see, is there some validity there? Is it happening again? And it's usually pretty obvious if there's something that's really going on there and I didn't see it. Now it's really obvious to me. And if I pay attention to it and I'm not seeing it, then I think someone maybe was just trying to get some advantage at that point and get a
Okay.
call, or trying to get some sympathy, later on, try and get the next call. Um,
Yeah, yeah, definitely try to convince you something happened, and then you're gonna do a makeup call in a few minutes.
yeah.
Yep, yep, yeah. That's savvy to identify that. Yeah. What's something else that we've heard from the players, from the spectators that's been useful?
Uh, Players telling me that they're getting insulted by the other team.
Mm-hmm.
Happened twice in Bakersfield on my last game.
And do you think they were being genuine with you, Garth?
Yeah, I think so. And
Okay.
I told them that I would certainly look out for that. I didn't actually see or hear any of that during the whole game, but both teams said that the opposite team was insulting them, saying bad things about them.
Okay. And you can't hear everything on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
I
can't
know.
see everything on the field either. So a player may report, so and so is elbowing me or pushing me, and um, so that's something that I'll just tell them that I'll keep an eye out for it.
What's interesting about that is that there might be an expectation from that player who comes to report to you, hey, you got to keep your eyes open for this. And the response typically, and it should honestly, is, I'm trying to keep my eye on everything. Unfortunately, I'm not able to. I don't have eyes all over the place and things like that. And sometimes that response isn't met well, right? Sometimes it is, obviously, but sometimes it's not, and it's disappointing when it's not met well.
It is. Yeah. Go ahead, Cindy.
No, I was going to say, I try to always let the player know that I care and that I heard them. So I don't offer them excuses, but I'll say, thank you for letting me know. I will try and watch that. And then there's balls out of play or we get a quarter break or half break. I will have a quick word with my AR to ask them to help me watch what I'm looking for as well so that we can both work on it.
Yeah, that's great. I like that nobody here is just patently shutting it down. I know it's a great response if you get, hey, they're elbowing me. You don't have to say, oh no, I didn't see any elbow. I was okay with that. You say, which number, so I can look at it. And if they know the number, boom, they tell you useful information. Um, if they don't know the number, at least you're going to feel heard. And then maybe they'll be focused on remembering the number and less focused on yapping at you. I like that nobody here is shutting it down.
I found the same thing with the coaches too. If a coach comes to me and says, hey, watch out for this, and I just acknowledge and say, okay, I will, coach. Usually it seems to satisfy them.
Sometimes they just want to be heard. All right, so we got our feelers out there. This group seems pretty savvy on that. So we're not going into a game with a locked-in mindset. I want to go through some clips. And we're kind of right on schedule here. So we're going to jump into some clips. These are all from Team 3 games. And let's talk about how the referee rose to the occasion in that specific clip. And there's no audio on this one in particular. But if you're a great lip reader, you can catch it. So what are we thinking so far?
The introduction, trying to establish a friendly atmosphere with the coaches.
Uh-huh.
I like the teamwork there.
uh, yeah. Did anyone else catch that? We'll go
Yeah.
back.
Center forget his pen.
Yep. He checked every pocket twice. But the AR was ready right there. I think this is I want to say this is a boys 16 match. Um, yeah, so let's right here. You just look at these three referees. What's your first impression?
Professional.
Why?
Look like a
Uh,
team.
yeah. Walking together.
Their
They look ready.
attire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they definitely present like a team. All three are together, and
Yeah. In so many ways, they look like a team. And
is that
then
guy on the left? Uh, what's his name?
It's
Alex.
Chris? Oh, Alex. Okay,
Yeah.
Alex. That's right. Yeah, Alex. Okay. Look familiar.
Alex, Rick, and Anna. Yeah. Um, yeah, I want to say this was in 2016. Yeah, so they look great. And then right here, boom, straight into the handshake, right? Rick isn't coming out of the gate with card coach, line them up, blah, 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 right? That that doesn't engender any goodwill. Be human with them, right? Shake the hand, say hello. Hey, how was your last game? How was your last tournament? Oh, you got blown away? That's too bad. You can rise to the occasion, set the tone. It's at this point you start making your first impressions.
But it's also a good way to get some information about how the team might be feeling emotionally.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. At these tournaments, the coaches get very much into the points in the standings, and so they're going to tell you exactly what the outcome needs to be. And oh, that's why they cared so much that I called offside and they almost put the ball in goal. Right? If they need to, like, oh, I need to win by 1, and the yellow team needs to win by 2. Yeah, they might even tell you that. Yeah. So Rick, Alex, and Anna here, they're all just communicating well. And then of course the coach went over and he got his card, and right here we can just enjoy Rick here. He goes for pocket 1. Nope. Pocket 2. Nope. Pocket 1 again. No. Alex. Okay. Thank you. So, you know, ARs, they show up ready too. Alex rose to the occasion there. I mean, referees probably don't too often forget their pens. Um, is there anything else here we see of note? Sorry about the shaky camera. Actually, if this was in 2016, I had an excuse. I was on crutches. What's the overall impression watching that again?
Approachable.
Yeah, I was gonna
If
say
you
I
go
just like
ahead.
how I just like how friendly it looks, right? I mean, I think approachable is a good word. Just
Yeah, very true. And everyone's gonna have a little different style, you know. If you compare me to that referee, we're very different people. He's very much in his element there. So yeah, it starts early. All right, but let's get some action. You guys want to see some action? Um, okay. Here's a game situation. And we're away. What do we think?
Fast reaction by the AR to start with. Quick
Yep.
bag.
Yeah, we've got Clint here and James. Yeah, fast reaction by the AR. Here we can play through that. Boom. He sees it. Oops.
There's a quick restart, after what could potentially blow up and become a bigger issue. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever was said seemed to get things moving again, and everybody calmed down and the ball back in play pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the referee coming over in that situation helps. If I if it were me, and I always couch it in this way, I hope that I would have the mindset to do the same thing, to run over. I might have gone further over to the injured player and see if he's okay first, but
Mm-hmm.
coming over I think was a good thing, and talking to the players afterwards.
Yeah, you can watch James in the middle here, and you can see him going from casually seeing how play is going to he's running into the spot quickly, right? Just that physical presence. What kind of effect did that have? What do we see?
I see
I think
control.
Yeah, how do we see that control?
it diffused a situation where, another player could have come up to, push on one of the other players. And I
Yeah,
think it just diffused the situation that could have, been more volatile.
exactly. And look at the offender's body language, all right? So this is clearly a smart foul. This looks like plays turn around quickly, and the defender decides to shut it down, right? He's got no shot at the ball there. And look, he's walking away. He's walking away. And, oh, this ref looks like he means, but oh, okay. I gotta act like I'm sorry about that. Referee didn't have to say a word. He just got there.
There are two things I see. One, as an AR, I sometimes wonder whether to be quick with my flag or to look at the referee to see whether he sees it or wants to let something go or what. But this particular foul was very blatant and obvious that the play was going to stop. Um, and the second thing is the type of foul. That to me comes pretty close to maybe issuing a caution.
Agreed.
This is true. But
I
of course,
couldn't
go ahead.
I couldn't tell if in the right hand if he was holding a whistle or if he was running over with a card. So I was kind of waiting to see if his hand went up. But
Yeah, that's his yellow spare whistle.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the referee and the AR were thinking that too. The offender might have, you know, his reticence might have saved him a card there. And James had a number of tools in his toolbox. He didn't have to go from foul to yellow. He had a tool in between, right?
But
And then
every
go ahead.
everybody kept their cool in this situation. Not only did the referees, but the players did. You didn't hear anything from the sideline, and so I'm just impressed that in that type of foul, it went that smoothly by all sides.
It tells you something about the kind of game the referee team have been giving them up to that point. Yeah. And you can even watch, right? So James comes over, um, and Clint's body language is very clear. He's managing coach or spectator or something. And James is coming in. I talked about those feelers, right? He's got his feelers out. He came in hot and oh wait, let me slow down. Okay, I see this guy going in. People are reacting okay. This right? And James has a quick word, some gestures that can be seen around the field. And
I'm
he's
guess
looking around. Go ahead.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm guessing that probably took place in front of the green side as opposed to the opposite side, but maybe helped in the control aspect of it.
Yeah, it wasn't such a volatile situation in front of their own bench getting offended.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's some great ways there to rise to the occasion, right? You guys have any last things to say on this one, or should we jump to the next one? Okay. On this next one, we have James on the line, and we've got Peter in the middle.
It's nice to see that as your AR is going toward the goal, you're trotting a little bit toward it, and you're trying to park it. So now it's more about having fun.
Can't get out our legs.
Super. This is upgrade, right? Yeah.
That's Clint again on the far line. All right, what do we think about that one?
The first signal by the AR was not recognized or seen by the referee.
Yep.
But then a foul was called after that, that the referee did see. Is that what I'm? Is that what?
The whistle was actually from another field.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so he never blew his whistle even. I mean, it looks like he called advantage to some extent and let play continue. Is that what happened?
Yes, and then the kid gets up and starts yelling, and that's when Peter blows his whistle.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so the whistle was from the other field. So I think Peter would agree this was not his highlight here. However, I do see ways in which he rose to the occasion. What do we think? How did he rise to the occasion
the
eventually?
discussion, the time he took to discuss whatever he was telling the player, it wasn't quick. He took his time. The player wanted to walk away, and he called him back, and he wanted to talk. He wanted to explain his thoughts further. I thought that was pretty good.
I would love to have a microphone right there to hear what he's saying because that turned that kid around immediately, which, yeah, very impressive.
I have a question. What about the tap on the shoulder afterwards? Is that an appropriate professional thing to do, or is that better left without having any physical contact between the referee and the player?
That's a good question. What do you folks think? Well, let me jump forward a bit. There we go.
I think in many cases that shoulder tap is well received and it helps kind of cement the bond between the two people there, and they can relate to each other,
Okay.
especially one tap and then the other taps them back.
Yeah, it is reciprocated, and Peter did get a handshake earlier. You're looking at his back, so it's hard to see. But right here he gets a handshake.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Um, yeah, the pat on the shoulder, I know, we never teach physical contact with players. Um, even as effective as this was, it's a tool that I had when I was refereeing adults, but refereeing youth, it's a tool personally I don't actually use except in very, very, very rare occasions. Um, yeah, what does everyone else think about it?
I'm the same as you, Lewis. I don't ever tap a player or hand on the shoulder or anything. Just from the days of coaching and refing, where they've always said, you're better off with no physical contact at all, and you can't get blamed for anything.
I think there's a place for contact when it's appropriate. It's public. It's on the back. I personally, when I'm doing a game with a bunch of big 19U boys, if I have the opportunity, we're having a good discussion, we're bonding well, I'll often tap them on the back, and that makes them relate better to me, and usually they tap me back.
I guess I lean on the fist bump. I do that during the game, but I don't do much more than that. So that's a good question. I hadn't even thought about that one. I hadn't noticed that. Yeah, in this situation, I see it and it comes off well, right? So granted, right? Peter missed James's flag. He gave advantage after missing a flag. So, the red team feels that because they see James. So they're like, it's two in a row we didn't get. And then the third one happens and Peter doesn't call it. His feelers aren't out yet, right? What are they telling him at that point?
Lighten it up.
There's the point where the kid jumps up off the ground. And he shouts, "Ref, what are you doing?" Right? That's when it's, oh, okay. My feeders were turned off for a while. I think I need to key in. So, for whatever reason, Peter was calling it looser than they wanted, right? So these kids are telling you, look, we're just not mature enough to handle that few calls. Uh, we're not mature enough to go, okay, this is the level game we got today. Let's play to that. What they're telling you is we need to be managed. And the way Peter brings that kid down so quick, those of you who've met Dr. Peter Stefani, you know that Peter comes in, he's got a very mellow way about him. He's a very contemplative guy. He's thinking things through. So he's really probably not throwing any things in this kid's face. And then he gets the handshake and then he keeps chatting because he knows this is going well. Sometimes you give that card, you're out of there. Because if you keep chatting with them, what are they going to do?
Argue.
Uh-huh. And maybe even ask for a second. Uh, but I think Peter got the sense, okay, this is going better. The kid knows he blew up. Peter probably owned up to something. So that's one of those where you can dig yourself a hole and like, okay, we're all human, we miss stuff. How do you get out of it? Right? And I think Peter got out of this pretty well. We don't get to see the rest of the game, but I think he picked up some respect there. I got one more. Is there anything on this one that you guys want to finish up before we go on? All right. This is Ben in the middle.
Now, Peter has 15.
Hey, you know what? I grabbed a shorter clip than I thought. So, what do we think of him calling this PK here?
To me, it just looked like the goalie was going after the ball, and the other girl fell over.
Yeah, and if his point was to let everybody know he's calling a PK, he's kind of going in the wrong direction, right? He's walking away and they're walking away like nothing happened.
Yeah, what does everyone else think?
It's pretty loud, long whistle. Pretty good demonstration that he was confident that it was a PK. I don't think he was doubting it at all.
Yeah, there was no doubt in his mind.
Convincing.
Um, I'm gonna try to pull up something here while you guys keep chatting. But that's a strong penalty kick call, right? I agree with the call or not. Did he sell it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Um,
I would say he sold it because none of the players are walking toward him to argue it.
And that's why he was backing away. He made the call, and then you back away over there so players don't approach you.
That's a tactic that's common.
Yeah.
Yeah, that seemed to work there.
Keep chatting. I'm gonna get the longer clip. Give me a second.
So if you linger at the spot, then you're inviting players to come up and question what you did. But by backing over there and then stepping over the goal line, the only reason for them to follow you is to protest. And it's kind of a higher bar for them to actually be willing to follow you, as opposed to you standing right in the middle of them, then you're just right there and you're available to them. So it's a way to keep them from getting themselves in trouble.
That's smart. Did anyone think it was kick, a kick while the keeper was pretty low to the ground? Maybe you got a kick from the player.
That's what I thought at first. Could be something else happened before that.
Oh, possibly.
Yeah. So what Cindy was saying was spot on. So this is a situation of worlds colliding. This is a moderate level um, team. I think it's a 16U game. Uh, and Ben here is on, at that time, he was on the track to be a professional assistant referee. So he's thinking very high level stuff. So like Cindy mentioned, those of us that have really had a lot of time to learn stuff, you have this where strong hard whistle, point to the spot, and then turn your back to the goal line and make your way across the goal line. Create that distance, create that boundary. So he's ready for that. You know, one weird thing about this situation is he was so deep, he was pretty much at the penalty kick mark at the spot when he started signaling it. So he was kind of pointing back upfield. But even what's weird is the players, there's no missing that whistle, but they're playing like we're gonna keep going. But let's see the full clip here. So you see how he realizes there's no challenge, and then he starts coming back upfield. Oh, there we go. Okay, now you've seen the whole clip. Sorry, I had the wrong. I had the truncated one. Um, do you think anything different here now? Oh, come on. Sorry, all right. This thing's giving me trouble. All right, there we go.
Seems to me that while he was in there with the whole group of them, he was clearly able to see what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember correctly on this match, it was a fairly low skill level from both teams.
I was generous with my description. I called it moderate, but yes. Uh, Here, we can even watch it in slow motion. So I think it's this one here that he's calling where she falls, and then she pushed the right leg of the player in red there. Yeah, so Cindy, you were saying it seemed like a lower skill level game.
The girls are all holding their ears from the whistle.
Yeah. Well, he's not checked out, right? On a low skill level game, it can be easy to check out, but he stayed focused in. He saw his call there. He was moving. He was very close. And I think it gets to be an awkward situation here, right?
He's the only
Where
one who's really, really interested in what's going on.
but can he play it off and be like, I guess everyone's okay with no PK. We're just gonna act like I didn't whistle. Does he have that option? What do you
I,
guys think?
I would say no, you don't have the option once you blow the whistle, but I don't know if I would have done something different when I saw the girls, the players weren't responding to my first whistle, no matter how long, and eventually he does. He blows his whistle again at some point.
Yeah, he brings them back.
Look out. They're just
And
being,
maybe there's much to be admired from the patience he's showing.
What were you adding, Cindy?
I said they're baying so well. He doesn't even have to do anything to orchestrate this. They just snap into position.
Yep.
He's totally sold them on it. And I believe he was probably thinking to himself, should I have called that? But he didn't betray that at all.
Yeah, there's not much opportunity there to chicken out, right? You've blown the whistle for a penalty kick. If you realize, I got that wrong, I called it in the wrong direction, or your AR says, "Hey, come here, idiot, get over here." Um, before you take the PK, you can change things, but his AR is not telling him that. No one's objecting to his call, and so he's got to stick to it. What happens if he says, you know what, drop ball?
He's going to lose some of his authority if he does that.
Yeah,
Think he had to do something because it was looking dangerous right there. So play had to be stopped one way or another.
yeah, there was a lot going on. Yep. Yeah, so that was kind of a weird one. Uh, but Ben had the the courage, the character, and the consistency to stick with it there. Um, so hats off to him, and maybe he learned something in this moment. Like, okay, this game, these players really don't need that, and we can handle it differently. Or maybe he thought, these kids are cuckoo. That was a clear PK. All right. Well, with that being said, uh, we're coming to a close here. That's all the clips I got for tonight. So, as we look forward to the season, we can shape our focused discussions to be what we need. And for those of you who will be refereeing with us at the briefing each morning, we talk about certain things. What are certain ways in which you want to discuss rising to the occasion? And we can start creating things around that for you. We take general requests too.
maybe some help with working with those super aggressive and difficult coaches
Okay.
or players.
Okay. All right, I got that written down. Thank you, Garth. I think somebody talked about knowing that tipping point, right? How to identify, okay, this side of it, it's okay, this side is going to mean trouble. I think someone mentioned that. Maybe understanding fouls that mean trouble. Okay. And of course, it's okay to request topics after this. It doesn't have to be all tonight. We've got months and months and months of focused discussions to get through this. We'll probably target doing 2 per month.
I would just add perhaps, I don't know if it's a practice or a method of bringing a game that is out of control back into control.
Yeah,
I think we,
that's go ahead.
I was going to say, we saw some great examples on these videos of how it was done so masterfully, and it was done in just seconds if you get the right technique going.
There's one referee that often appears in our clips, but didn't tonight. I say his games are like he lets his line out, he lets his line out, and he gets to the end of his line. He's, oh, okay, time to start bringing it back in, and that's his style, and it works for him. For me, I'd be stressed the whole time. Yeah, those are great topics. And I can certainly bring in folks to teach on those. We're going to have guest instructors. I always do the kickoff, and I might do one or two throughout the season. But we do get to bring in guest instructors. Those are great topics. Well, I'm going to bring it to a close for tonight because I want to respect your time. I really appreciate you all being here. The attendance gets a mix, and I upload them to YouTube as long as YouTube allows them. When I use Pro Clips, YouTube gives me trouble. So they're there. If you can't make it, they'll be uploaded later on. And I know there are people who just can't make it when we do these, but they watch them at their leisure. So that's always an option. And these are what you make of it. So if we got 6 people showing up tonight, I think we had up to 18 people at one point last year. It's a range, and you show up and you see what you get. We've got our first games coming this weekend. I'm very excited for those of you who are able to make it. Fingers crossed. It sounds like the weather's better for you guys there than it is for me here. So I hope we do get to play. And I want to thank you again for giving another evening of your time to AYSO and getting the Team 3 season kicked off.
Thank you, Louis.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.